Hello everyone, today I will be presenting a paper that is entitled Subalternity in Anne Frank's The Diary of a Young Girl. This paper was written and presented by Assistant Lecturer Amany Abdul Kadhom Abdulridha and Lecturer Sabrina Abdulkadhom Abdulridha. First we have to understand what the meaning of subalternity is. Actually, it is one of the major branches of postcolonialism, and the first who came up with this idea was Antonio Gramsci. He phrased the word and says that people like this, they take political action, and they are actually social classes that have different religion or different races. So he says that such groups are diminished from the social class and they are oppressed because they do not agree with the political mass, and this leads to the birth of subaltern class. So it's like a war of position, and Gramsci says that the subalterns have their own lives to live even if they do not agree or cut off from the political and governmental residencies. So they are like an antagonist position, or have an antagonist position in the eyes of the ruling class, and that's why they are always under attack. So there is no unification between them because they have different personalities, ideas, religions, and beliefs. And the religion is the most common one between them, and however Gramsci emphasizes that subalterns should revolt even if their ideologies are different. So they are the maker of their own destiny. Now further, we see that Spivak also wrote an essay entitled Can the Subaltern Speak? Now, she implies that subaltern have no history and they cannot speak, and especially when they are women. So that's because they have different race, class, or religion. And she says that mostly subalterns, they remain in darkness and their knowledge is blocked and there is no history known about them because their voices are even not very heard, and no one shows interest in their words and they do not show any respect to them. So when they open up, they get under attack, so they are forced into silence, and that's how they lose their identity. And we see that Homi Bhabha, he actually says that there is somehow a hybrid between a colonizer and colonized, however they are still very independent. Julia Kristeva, the Bulgarian French philosopher, also says that they go through the phase of objectification, which means there is a different state where they go through. They might be subject to violence, but however, some years later, they might actually make a story out of it. And however, such groups are mostly ambiguous and they are marginalized because they are silenced through barbaric violence. And we see Edward Thompson, he actually explains that there is a big difference between different classes of the society. So they are ignored. Now, a very good example is Anne Frank, the Jewish girl. Now, this girl actually lived in the Second World War, and she wrote a diary she named Kitty, and she actually wrote this diary in the 1940s when the Second World War started against the Jews, and she noticed that the Jews were robbed from their freedom. So many people were forbidden to use vehicles from 8 to 6, and shopping was limited only from 3 to 5 when you are Jewish. And she just expresses that you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that, but life went on. And she said also that no one dared to do anything anymore because they are afraid, and the Jews were just restricted to laws, and if they would not help to their laws, they would be killed, and that's why the Jews chose silence. So Jews had to wear this sign, which is the Star of David, and on it there it said Jood, or it is a Dutch word for Jew. So it is just an act that Germans forced in order to humiliate, isolate, and make the Jews feel insecure. And whoever failed to or refused to wear it would be punished severely. And Frank's father or her father refused to undergo this or tolerate this humiliation, and he decided to go hiding with his family. And he just felt that it would be very hard to live cut off from the rest of the world, but he had no other choice. He went to his colleague Miep Gies and her husband, and they decided to hide them behind the bookcase and this is located in the building where Otto actually used to work. And they decided to keep mute because if they were to be heard, they would be transferred to concentration camps. Anne is actually at the moment very relieved to be still alive. Now, she says, however, she's upset. She says that she cannot go outside, she cannot enjoy her freedom, and if they will be discovered, they will be shot. She has still dreams, and she just hopes the war is going to get over with so she can pursue her dreams. However, her voice is not heard by any of the residents or by the society. That's why she has a diary. And we see that another family came to join them in their hiding place in 1942. We have the Von Pels family joined them, and then Mr. Dussel also joined them later, becoming 8 members in this hiding place. And Mr. Dussel actually explains how the Jews are treated outside, and he says that the Gestapo, the state police, actually looks for the Jews and takes them down to concentration camps, and whoever has information about the Jews are also required to answer them. And she says, Anne writes that she's frightened, she's afraid, just because they are Jews, they are treated in a very bad way. So the only thing they get is medical supplies, and they are secretly getting those from Miep and Jan, and they are just marginalized or subalterns of the society. And discrimination, or this kind of discrimination, led them into suffering from individualism, universalism, and cultural differences. So their silence also caused them starvation, oppression, and regression. And the government, on the other hand, they are reaching their goals through discrimination, judging, and prejudice. So it's just a war between the ancient tradition and a new system, and that's how they created 2 different fields, all through violence. She also sees how Jewish children are prevented from their parents are taken away, and she just wants the war to end, and she doesn't like to be a subaltern for a long time. And that is all because of Hitler thinks that the Jews have no or they can't be part of the society. He just wants a land free from Jews because he believes that they are. This is just a superstition kind of religion. So he just wants to get them out, and Jews have nothing to do but being silent to protect themselves. They are not fed well. They are being shaved when they reach concentration camps, and Frank is actually embarrassed that she's German because she doesn't believe that Germans are acting this way. And the Gestapo as a great example. She just wants this to stop, but however, the Gestapo are looking for the leading figures that the Jews have, and they take 5 hostages in hope that the leading figures will give up and check in to them. The 5 hostages are announced in the newspaper, hoping the leading figures will show up, but that most likely wouldn't happen. So Hitler just believes that Judaism is not a deserving religion to be existent. That's why he created this war. Now, Anne Frank and her family, they are following up through the radio. They are listening to the horrible things that are going on. And she just wonders if this is going to help them and if this war will get them through. There is, however, a struggle of communication. They cannot act freely. They have difficulties in every single different perspective. And there's just a clash between the ruling class and the subaltern groups. One is silent and the other one chooses violence. She also says how Hans Alpen Rauter, he formally announced that the Jews should be emptied from the land by the 1st of July. She grows scared. The Jews are very fastly led into the slaughterhouses, and that's how the Frank family kept silent for even more. And this is just a reaction formation to initial continuing desire to give a hysteric a voice. So they want to have a voice, but they just can't. So that's how their fingerprints or their traces are removed from history. So she feels like a bird without wings, and she cannot even sleep safely. She has bad thoughts. She just feels that she's alone and imprisoned, and she's just fearing that the secret annex would be discovered soon, and that she will lead to, or be led to the concentration camp without fulfilling her dreams. She's just surrounded by black clouds, and she just has a small area to move in. However, she still continues being silent as a subaltern. And she remembers also one of her friends, and she just feels disgusted by the way Jews are just captured, uh, because she believes that the Jews are actually innocent. However, she cannot share her pain with anyone. She just lives alone as a subaltern, having no rights, having no identity, and at the moment suffering from class division, and just to survive. So she just this is the only position they can take in order to save them from injustice. So her last words that she mentions in her diary is that she's still hoping. She keeps trying to find a way to become what I'd like to be and what I could if only there were no other people in the world. So this is how her diary ends. The secret annex is eventually founded by the Gestapo. The 8 residents are all transferred to the concentration camps. Anne and her sister do not survive. They are transferred to Germany, as well as their parents, and she might have died because of the gas chambers or because of this illness, typhus, that broke out between the Jews. The girls' bodies were never discovered, and the only one who survived that was actually her father, Otto Frank. And this is the person who kept the voice of Anne Frank alive. He published her diary, and that's how the subaltern group actually survived, by its voice through literary work of Anne Frank. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope it was an interesting presentation. Thank you so much.